Thank you all so much for clicking on this Cowboys Report video. I really do appreciate it. But we also know that over half of you guys watch the show and yet aren't subscribed. I'm not really sure what more you guys want from us here. If you have something in mind, let us know in the comments, I guess. But we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep you covered on everything around the Dallas Cowboys, including training camp should be starting. And yeah, maybe it's a month, but somewhere in that time frame. We're going to cover everything you need to know on the Dallas Cowboys. So hit that big red button and subscribe today. All right, first up on our Cowboys Rumors Roundup is secondary, a huge hole for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I was going to go with a very vulgar thing about Bears and the Woods, but yes, 4 stars on this one. It's a massive hole. It's the biggest hole on this Cowboys team, on this Cowboys roster. Gil Brandt is right when he says it. Now, Gil, as we'll break down, put it 4th overall in the NFL. Not sure it's actually that high, but it is a big-time concern. There is not a clear number 1 corner on this Cowboys roster. You can argue if there's even a legit number 2 on the team. Maybe it's Chidobe Awuzie. Maybe it's not. I think that's fair to say it's up for debate at the current moment. And the number 1 thing this Cowboys secondary needs, it's got to get more takeaways. Now, hopefully, adding Clinton Dix will help in that category. He's been a playmaker for the Bears and Packers, and I guess the Redskins too, briefly in his NFL career. Jordan Lewis makes plays on the football, and hopefully a brand new scheme, a new scheme that emphasizes turnovers more under new DC Mike Nolan will result in more takeaways as well. But it is a concern, and it's my biggest concern on this entire Cowboys team. Now, Brandt's top 5 amongst the biggest roster holes. Number 1 was Seahawks pass rush. Number 2 was the Packers receivers and tight ends. Number 3 was the Redskins, same spot. Cowboys secondary, then Jets corners. Don't know where the Bengals offensive line is, but that's, besides the point there. I do think it is one of the bigger concerns, especially if you have aim or hopes of contending like the Dallas Cowboys do. So do me a favor. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, how worried are you about the Cowboys secondary? 1 saying if they're going to be a top 5 unit in the entire NFL. 10 being you are freaking the F out. You are super concerned about it. I'm probably at like a 6 or a 7. I have doubts about that unit, but I'm going to make this the pinned comment on this video. So if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll on down and cast your vote. Maybe the simplest solution is to go trade for Patrick Peterson. That would take care of your cornerback issue. I don't consider it that likely, though. Still just the 1 star for me. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news here. I'd love to do it. We've talked about it before. Peterson would come in, be the number 1 corner the Cowboys need. Although issues are here, wasn't as good as he normally is. We'll break that down more in depth. And also, he wants to get paid. Cowboys don't want to pay corners. It's weird. Maybe they'd break the bank for Peterson like they would for Jamal Adams since they don't want to invest in either of those spots. But also, even if you do what FanSided suggests, which is giving up a 2nd-round pick, which I think is fair value, I think that's a strong offer from the Cowboys. The issue is Arizona's trying to win games this year. They're not tanking yet. At least not yet. Maybe in the season things could change. But Arizona thinks they can make a playoff push. Anything with youngster Kyler Murray, they can take the next step forward. You know what's really tough to do? Is taking the next step forward if your secondary loses Patrick Peterson. Now, he wasn't as good last year coming off the suspension. I think that was a factor there. He's a little bit older. I have faith, though, in Patrick Peterson having a big-time bounce-back year and returning to that legitimate number 1 corner for him. I'd love to get him on this roster. Again, I want to emphasize that. This is less having to do with my desire to go out and add him and more that I just don't know if the Cowboys would want to pay him and, more importantly, if the Cardinals want to trade him away. Remember, folks, most NFL teams don't trade away their best players. Now, for me, Patrick Peterson would be one of the dream trade targets. But who's yours? Let me know in the comments section. Is it Peterson? Is it Jamal Adams? Is it somebody else in mind? Dream target, so you can go as wild as you want. Let me know in the comments section. Let's go to receiver now. Amari Cooper, is he going to have his best season ever? 2 stars on this one. I don't mind it. I think there is some pretty good reasoning behind it, but it's also, June, and let's see if he plays all 16 games. Now, last year, Cooper actually did set highs in 2019 in yards, touchdowns, and yards per catch. He had if not his best season, at least one of his best seasons ever. And I'd say yards, TDs, and yards per catch, probably a good way to say, yes, Cooper had his best year ever, although we know the inconsistency, especially later on in the year, was there. Now, if you want a career best year, in quotes, across the board, this is what you need. 133 targets, 84 catches, 1,190 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think it's doable if the volume is there. If Cooper is out there for, 80% of the snaps like he was when he was playing at his best last year. If he's not ceding too many targets to CeeDee Lamb, among others. Possible, not set in stone. That screams 2 stars to me. Now, if you guys want an Amari Cooper jersey or just the Cowboys jersey in general, they are on sale, 25% off. Head over to chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. That's chatsports.com/Cowboys. That link's in the comments and the description, up to 25% off. Tell you what, it's a pretty darn good Father's Day gift. Get your dad a jersey instead of another crappy tie. So go check out what they have. One more time for you guys in the comments and the description, chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. Let's talk Dak then now, money-wise. Should the Cowboys pay Dak $40 million if they have to? I don't know about this. 2 stars on this one. I see both sides of it here. Comes to us from John Machado of The Athletic, who said, yeah, this is the route I would go if I had to. Now, as a reminder, Dak's not asking for 40, all right? Not asking for 40. The hypothetical mailbag question was, hey, if you had to get $40 million, would you do it? Great question, right? Like, look, Dak's not asking for 40 right now, but John does have a great point that the market's not going to go in the other way for the most important position in the NFL. It's only going to go up. You're not going to save money. It's not going to be less than 35 or whatever million a year going forward. They'll find a way to make the cap work at the NFL. Well, it's not going to dip. So Mahomes and Watson and Lamar Jackson, they're all going to get paid. Now, in this hypothetical, let's say that this comes after Deshaun Watson gets paid to make it a little bit more plausible than what it is right now. Maybe it's even later on. The way I approached this was look at it compared to the franchise tags. A possible structure, 5 years, $40 million per year, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48. 2 years of the franchise tag checks in at about $69 million. Which means that it's about the same as giving Dak $40 million a year. So what you have to ask yourself is, what's the market going to be like entering 2022? Is it going to be $44 million per year? Honestly, it might be, but I'm not sure it's going to be in the same way that I know the market's probably going to be upwards of 40. So at that point, maybe 2 franchise tags. Maybe that's your endpoint. There has to be an endpoint at some point for the way you pay a quarterback. So cast your votes. P for pay Dak $40 million in theory, or W for let him walk. I'm sitting right on that fence line. At that cost, I think I might try and play the 2 years of franchise tags and then see what the market looks like. But remember, at that point, Dak's hitting the market. Like, you're not going to be able to tag him a third time, and you run the risk of upsetting your franchise quarterback. So the money's even in terms of the tags and 40 and what the contract will look like versus the structure. I just don't know. It's a tough one for me. Let's go on out to Delanie Walker. How about signing him if you are the Cowboys? I'll give it 2 stars. I don't hate the idea. I'm intrigued by it, actually. Makes some sense. The Cowboys are pegged as a destination for Walker. He would add the veteran presence that, at least in the tight end room, isn't really there right now. I'm not concerned that Jason Witten left, but there are some depth concerns I've got at tight end. Now, Delanie Walker back 2016, 2017, man, he was great. He was such a good tight end. Past 2 years, can barely get on the field. Now, in theory, you bring in Delanie Walker, he's not going to start for you. Like, Blake Jarwin's your starter. I think we've all accepted that in some points, appreciated that. It would become, okay, well, what about tight end 2? Now, I think Dalton Schultz and Blake Bell can be good blockers for you. And I think if everything goes according to plan, that's the roles those guys play. But if Jarwin gets hurt, how much confidence do you have in Schultz and Bell? Like, not very much, right? Like, at that point, you're probably using a lot more 10 personnel, and you're using 4 receivers instead. Or maybe end up using Tony Pollard more as a receiver, and you don't use a tight end as much. So I would explore Delanie Walker, but he is older. He is injury prone. It'd have to be cheap, and maybe he wouldn't check out on the medical side, which is probably why he's still on time. But cast your votes for me. Would you add Delanie Walker? Y for yes or N for no? Let's move on now to Dorance Armstrong. Is he still important and a key part of this Cowboys defensive line rotation? That's what Blogging the Boys says. I'm going to give it 1 star. I'm not so sure. Or at least not they're not banking on him. Now, if he makes and impresses and makes team and plays a role, awesome. I am all for that. There is still a chance. But you guys can look at what Armstrong has done. We can look at what this defensive end depth chart rotation looks like. Yeah, Dorance Armstrong has not played much, but he's not making a bunch of plays when he is out there. His pressure rate is not very good. It's barely above 6%. That's way lower than what you want even out of a rotational defensive end. So you're going to have DeMarcus Lawrence in there. I'm pretty sure Tyrone Crawford's sticking around. You, in theory, have Alden Smith and Randy Gregory. Remember, Gregory's still suspended, still waiting to hear word on his reinstatement. So those, in theory, are your top 4. I think Bradley and I was a better prospect coming out than Dorance Armstrong. I am super high on him. I think he's got a high floor, too. I think he ended up carrying 6. I think Dorance Armstrong still makes a team. But in terms of him being a key part of the Cowboys' defensive end rotation, I'm not sure that's really what's going to end up happening. Hey, Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.